Welcome back. We're on chapter 23, and we're dealing with pregnancy and growth and development. And we've been doing a lot of chapters, and we've talked about a lot of different things, and we kind of get to this chapter, and this one's pretty interesting. And I think it's interesting because this one pertains to all of us. We're all it's kind of interesting because not only do we have the things that affected our birth and growth, but we look ahead to if you already have kids and you're kind of like, wow, this was interesting. No, if kids are in your future, you're going to have this, or you always have a niece or a nephew or a brother or a sister or somebody that's going through pregnancy. So this one's really interesting. And once again, there's so many things out there. There's so many things out there that in real life you hear this and you hear that, and it's different things, and it's kind of interesting. But in human anatomy, isn't it neat to really look and go, oh wow, that's really what the research says. That's the most accurate information. So it's kind of cool. So let's start out here. Okay, let's start out. And let me tell you an interesting thing. Okay, first of all, the prenatal period. Okay, the prenatal period. All right, how long this lasts to go through the period of pregnancy? The prenatal period lasts 10 lunar months. Okay, so let's explain that. Okay, so we say, well, the gestation period, the time from fertilization till the time of birth is generally 9 months. So we can figure that is pretty close. But it's interesting in human anatomy, once again you get all this from your book because you're talking about it too, is defined as 10 lunar months. Wow. So basically we're talking 9 calendar months, but there's a reason for this 10 lunar months. We actually have indicators inside of us and a lot of biorhythms and different things. It's interesting. 10 lunar months, that's the time it takes the moon to go around. Okay, so the moon actually goes around. We look at calendar months. We say, okay, so this is going to be a 9-month gestation period or 9-month prenatal period. We say, okay, well, would that be the months that have 28 days or the months that have 30 or 31 days? So we actually have a very consistent deal here in that it's 10 lunar months. It's really interesting. So prenatal period lasts 10 lunar months. Now let's talk about blastomeres. Okay, blastomeres, blastomeres. Blastomeres are some of the very first cells that are produced. So it says blastomeres are produced by what? Okay, well, they're actually produced by meiosis. Isn't that interesting? Actually produced by meiosis. So blastomeres are produced by meiosis. Now, I got to be careful. I don't want to say the very first cells formed, and we'll come back and talk about blastomeres here in a little bit. Right now, you just need to know that blastomeres are produced by meiosis. Now, let's talk about the difference between meiosis and mitosis once again. Okay, meiosis is haploid. Things are still haploid. Sex cells are meiosis. The blastomeres are meiosis. We'll come back and talk about. I'm going to tie that in a little bit without chasing that rabbit right now. After that, when we start developing cells and cells just begin to grow, it's mitosis. Okay, but when we have the egg and we have the sperm, and once again, and then we have a zygote, the combination of the fertilized egg with sperm. So now we have a zygote. Okay. So now one cell begins to split, form 2, and this is where we form the blastomere. Now, the interesting thing about that is those cells are undifferentiated. Okay, they're undifferentiated, which means they're not a particular type of cell yet. So we just have this mass of growing cells for a while before those cells become specialized cells, like brain cells, lung cells, tissue cells, heart cells. Okay. So we're talking about blastomeres. We're talking about these cells that just form. Now, the first to develop, okay, all right. So the MORULA, the morula, M-O-R-U-L-A, and it's an interesting word, are the first to develop in terms of cells, okay? M-O-R-U-L-A, that's the first to develop, okay? So, it's not the blastocyst, okay? It's the M-O-R-U-L-A, and once again, I'm going to tie that in here in a little bit, so just be sure you write that down, that the M-O-R-U-L-A are the first to develop. Now, okay, now this is kind of interesting, okay? In the process of in vitro fertilization, the woman is given what to induce follicle development? So, what are we talking about here? Okay, so in vitro fertilization, we want the woman to be able to produce the egg here, okay? So they're asking, what do we give? And this is also a treatment here to help women to induce follicle development. Now we had this a little bit last chapter, okay? So we have these. So the ovaries produce the ovary produces the egg, okay? So we have ovaries, all right? And then we have this follicle development. So this follicle comes up. So when we have this follicle development, then the egg actually produces from the follicle. So what do we give these women to induce follicle development? Okay, it's human menopausal. Okay, and then it's gonadotropion. Okay, so let me spell this out for you. Human, H-U-M-A-N, menopausal, M-E-N-O-P-A-U-S-A-L, and then it's the word gonad, G-O-N-A-D-O-T-R-O-P-I-N. Okay, human menopausal, and then G-O-N-A-D-O-T-R-O-P-I-N. Okay. Now, when is this used? Okay. Now, it's pronounced. It's abbreviated HMG. We give HMG. You'll need to know the full term. It's going to be a multiple choice test. Okay. What do we do with HMG? Well, we give it to females to help induce follicle development. Really big. It's a natural. It's a natural sustaining process, but we can speed that up by giving the HMG. All right, now the embryonic period, okay, lasts from the 2nd week through the 8th week. All right. Now, what's an embryo? The embryo, okay, we'll talk about it a little bit later. I'm trying to slow myself down, but so what we have in the process of fetal development is we have the zygote first, and then we have a period of time to where we just make these undifferentiated cells, just regular cells. Cells just divide rapidly. And then at the end of 8 weeks, okay, at the end of 8 weeks, we are 1 inch long, okay, which is basically about that long, okay. We are 1 inch long, but we're a complete human specimen at that point. Isn't that amazing? We're 1 inch long at 8 weeks. We have the human appearance. We have all of the we have some organs still developing, but basically we are a human being at 8 weeks. And the new ultrasounds are amazing. I don't know if you've seen them, but man, my daughter had 10 months ago. Our little grandson is 10 months, and wow, the ultrasounds. When my wife and I, our oldest daughter was like 28, 29 years old, and when they had ultrasounds back when we were first checking out these ultrasounds, they weren't very reliable at all. And you went in there and you did this ultrasound, and as a mom and a dad, you went and looked, and there was this little blob, and everybody'd be like, "How cute!" And I was like, "How cute!" But I was like, I really don't. I mean, I'm not seeing it. You know, I just see this little blob. So when my daughter said, "Hey, we've got this ultrasound, you want to take a look?" I was like, "Oh, you know, I'm going to go with how cute." But wow, this ultrasound, you could see everything. You could see that. It was incredible. I mean, you can literally see around the eyes, the nose, the ears, everything. It was incredible. It's a 3-dimensional ultrasound. So fascinating deal. So the embryonic period. Okay. So the time of being an embryo. Okay. So here we go. So let's put it in perspective. So we just have a mass of cells developing. Then we develop into the embryo. Now, once again, okay, the embryonic development lasts from the 2nd week to the 8th week. So the first 2 weeks of the zygote being in the womb, the first 2 weeks of pregnancy, is just these massive cells. Then the next, okay, 2nd week to the 8th week, we have the embryo. Okay, now the embryo is starting to develop specialized cells, but we still don't have all the features of a human being. And then at 8 weeks, we have a complete human being. You have you look just, you're a little smaller and you don't have as much hair, but you have the resemblance of a human at 8 weeks, and you're 1 inch long. So the embryonic period lasts from the 2nd week through the 8th week. Now, okay, let's keep moving here. Okay, now the mesoderm. Okay, the mesoderm is a part of the cells that begin to develop. Now the mesoderm, all right, the mesoderm makes muscle cells, kidney cells, blood cells, heart cells. But the one thing that the mesoderm doesn't make are brain cells. Brain cells actually develop later in the process. So when we talk about mesoderm, and we talk about this mass of cells that begin forming and begin helping things form, they form all the different kinds of cells, but they don't form brain cells. Brain cells are formed from a different, we'll talk about that here in a little bit. Okay. Now, what prevents prevents the maternal and embryonic blood cells from mixing? Okay. Now, what are we talking about here? Okay, the maternal is the mom. The embryo is it's not even a fetus yet. Okay, but the mom, through the placenta, her blood is actually nourishing even the embryo and later the fetus. Okay, so what keeps so the baby's blood, or the embryo's blood, doesn't mix with the mom's blood. It just literally is able to pull out nutrients and oxygen. So that's kind of interesting. So what prevents the maternal and embryonic blood cells from mixing? It's the placenta membrane. So it's kind of cool. And this is what this once again. You know, I could probably say this over and over, but you know, it's incredible. Man can't make life. It's incredible what happens here. So here's this placenta coming from the mom. Okay, once again, it's going to be the result of your belly button here. So the mom has got, the mom's blood is actually going to oxygenate and nourish the embryo and the fetus. But the blood's not going to mix. The embryo, and as they develop, okay, even with the heart, and the heart begins to pump and develop and move the blood within the baby, the mother's blood is actually just nourishing it, okay, and oxygenating it, and not actually mixing with it due to the placenta membrane. So that's kind of interesting. All right. Now, that being said, let's go one step further. When would drugs or radiation produce the greatest harm in the prenatal period? And the answer is in the 4th week, because the 4th week, and once again, we kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. Okay, the embryonic period lasts from the 2nd week to the 8th week, but during the 4th week is when all of those cells are still there and they're just dividing rapidly. The 4th week is the most dangerous time for any type of substance. We wouldn't want the baby to come in contact with lead or any kind of substance abuse or any kind of radiation, because during the 4th week, when we destroy those cells then are going to stem out and make the different organs. So that's critical. It's really interesting too in that 4th week in another country if we have a malnutrition child, and then those certain things don't develop. So once again, that question, when would drugs or radiation produce the greatest harm? At the 4th week. I'll see you at the next video.